Hilltown Land Trust works with local residents to protect and preserve the open spaces, natural beauty, and wildlife of the region. We spoke with Land Steward Nicole Rhodes and Land Trust Executive Director Sally Loomis to find out more about their organization.
Hilltown Land Trust was founded by volunteers and back in 1986, and for more than 20 years the organization was an all-volunteer organization. And those volunteers started the organization slowly, but protected 1 or 2 properties a year and really had great systems in place to organize the work of the organization. But 6 or 7 years ago, we began to realize that as an all-volunteer organization, there were a lot of expectations of land trusts that were just too much for the volunteers to handle if we were serving several towns. And so the leaders of the organization began exploring different strategies to creatively sustain the organization at the level that was expected of a land trust without breaking the bank. And that's where the affiliation between the trustees of reservations and Hilltown Land Trust was born. And it's just a brilliant partnership. So my organization serves 13 towns, and the trustees of reservations is a statewide land conservation organization, probably the oldest in the country. And we essentially operate under their umbrella and are able to tap into the various systems of the larger organization. We don't need to establish our own payroll system or our own financial management system. We can do that through our partner, our affiliate, the Trustees of Reservations. But at the same time, that organization gets a stronger presence in an area they feel very committed to. And I actually conduct land protection projects for both organizations. So it's just been a great partnership and really helps us to operate efficiently and effectively.
And here with us is your land steward, Nicole Rhodes, affiliated with the organization. Quite literally, I mean, what a great job title, land steward. You literally go out, I know both of you do this to some extent, you literally go out, walk the properties on a regular basis, look at what's there to protect both the natural and the wildlife, correct?
Yeah. I think it's the most fun part of land conservation because I get to actually be out on the conserved lands and steward them, as Sally was saying, making sure that all the natural values are protected, there aren't any huge buildings being put up or roads being put in, and I get to see the different sorts of plants and wildlife that is out there. And I also bring in volunteers, help train volunteers to help steward the land. And even some of the volunteers take the initiative and they go out on their own and monitor it. And since we're such a small organization, it's great to have these people around to help us.
Yeah. Let's talk about, there are good reasons for a landowner to want to work with you. The goodness of their heart to protect and preserve land and nature, but there are benefits. There are tax incentives to protecting and preserving privately owned natural places. You work with people on that.
Sure. So there's 2 main ways that people would protect their land. One is through either a sale or a gift of their land to a land conservation organization. But the other strategy is called a conservation restriction, and that's actually how Hilltown Land Trust has protected most of the land in this region that we've worked on. We hold about 30 conservation restrictions, and they're also known as conservation easements. And through that system, the private landowner retains ownership of the land, but they essentially extinguish their right to develop the land. So they give up that right. And through that process, there's some financial advantages to a landowner. There's usually a federal or state tax deduction that they can take advantage of. There's an active state tax credit program right now, which is an incentive for landowners to donate their land for conservation. But a conservation restriction can also be sold. It has value, which is the difference in the value of the land unrestricted and the value of the land restricted. But most of the landowners we work with, they love their land and they want it to stay that way forever, regardless of who owns it. So that tends to be the main focus of why people protect their land. They love it. They like the view, they like the wildlife habitat or the stream, and they want it to stay that way.
Let's talk more about some of the things you do, excuse me, in the community. Hilltown Land Trust, HLT, sometimes as it's called. Great event coming up very soon, March 7th, timber harvesting. but in kind of a cool and different way. Explain that for a minute.
Sure. So this is an oxen logging demonstration on one of our properties in, it's actually in Worthington. And we have been working with a local forester who did the forest management plan for our property and said, you know, I think we could do a bit of logging on this property. It would help the health of the forest. And I've got a team of oxen, and I think that might be a great way to do it. It's sort of a sensitive ecological area, and logging with draft animals, whether they're horses or oxen, is one of the most low impact ways that you can harvest timber from a property. So we're going to have a demonstration of it about this on March 7th. We'll start in the morning with an event aimed at landowners who might want to do some forestry work on their property in this way. And then in the afternoon we'll have an event oriented more towards kids. But it should be a lot of fun, March 7th.
Speaking of fun, Nicole Rhodes, let me ask you, you talked about how much you enjoy what you do as the land steward, but at the end of the day, sometimes you must sit down and think, but you know what, I'm protecting nature. I'm keeping land and helping people understand why we want to keep this beautiful place beautiful and natural.
Yeah, it's really tangible. It's a really tangible way to conserve and practice conservation because you're actually seeing this land and saying, oh, now it's in protection and now I can try to protect it in the best possible way. So that is really exciting. It does, you know, give a good feeling at the end of the day. And then I just get to see these beautiful places that are out in the world and, yeah, monitor. I put a game camera out there and see wildlife. We saw a bobcat, a moose, just in this land where we have a trail. So it's really exciting work.
Sally Loomis, my experience is people here in the Hilltowns tend naturally to have a pretty healthy respect for nature, for the land. But what do you fear would be the result if there was no Hilltown Land Trust?
Sure. You know, I think Hilltown Land Trust can help protect larger chunks of land. So I think the risk would be sort of dividing up what are these large blocks of habitat with more development that isn't necessarily really planned. Towns don't really have many tools at their disposal to prevent development when there's already a road in place, for example. But by putting a conservation restriction on land or having the land go to a land conservation organization, it prevents that. So we have a lot of properties where the landowner might know that they have a lot of road frontage, and that could all be chopped up with house lots, or it could become a subdivision. And so that really helps to protect that. And it's protecting habitat for wildlife, it's protecting water quality, but also protecting the scenic landscape, the working farms, the working forests, to really help protect, you know, what I think people in this area value about the Hilltowns, the whole beauty of the area, the way of life, and that's what we're really striving to protect is the whole package. We're not trying to lock up land so that people can't use it. Most of our protected land can still be used for recreation, can still be farmed, can still have active forestry on it, but we're really just trying to protect a slice of the world of, you know, how it is right now.
Well, Sally Loomis, Nicole Rhodes, thanks for what you do. Thanks for coming in and spending some time with us.
Thank you.